Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's session Fundamentals of Information Security Protecting Data in the Digital Age. I am Shilpa Sharma, and I will be your host for the day. Before we get started, we would like to go over a few house rules for our attendees. The session will be in listen only mode and will last for an hour, out of which last 15 minutes will be dedicated to Q&A. Also, admissions are currently open. For further details about our courses, please visit our website www.eccu.edu. Our speaker for today's session, Sentil Velaytham. Senthil is an esteemed technical strategist who is celebrated for his adeptness in resolving business challenges and enhancing IT frameworks. Throughout his career, Senthil has effectively supported numerous clients in attaining their objectives. He has cultivated strong collaboration with distinguished technology partners like VMware, Microsoft, Druva, AWS, Commvault, VM, Cohesity, Rubrik, EMC, NetApp, Cisco, Juniper Networks, Extreme Networks, HP, Nutanix, and others. Acknowledged as an advocate for cloud technology, cybersecurity, and data center practice, he staunchly advocates streamlining technical operations to optimize productivity. Leveraging his profound understanding of these technologies, he addresses complex integration hurdles with refined, efficient, and cost-effective approaches. Driven by a fervent commitment to innovation, Sentil consistently prioritizes team success, establishing himself as a key person of influence in both the technological and business spheres. Without any further delay, I would hand over the session to you, Sentil.
Sure. Thank you, Shilpa. Hi, everyone. I'm Sentil Velaytham. Just want to do a quick intro for myself. I've been in the IT industry for the last 23 years. Throughout my career, I've had the privilege of working and collaborating with some of the best minds in their field at GlaxoSmithKline, Shell IT International, Hewlett-Packard, AIG, Logicalis Australia, Commvault, Druva, and more recently, VMware. I want to walk you through on our topic today, and I think it wouldn't be prudent if I didn't start by going through some of the basics first. So let's get the basics out of the way. So what is information technology security, right? So information security is the practice of protecting information from unauthorized access, modification, disruption, or destruction in order to provide confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Sometimes information security is referenced as data security. Examples of data types that's covered by information security may include, but not limited to, personal health information, personal identifiable information, or more commonly known as PII, such as names, addresses, national identification information, birth dates, financial information, or bank account information, credit card information, corporate data information, or even research and development information that is specific to a particular organization. Could be financial data, list of customers that they have, and even competitive data of a competitor as well. So why is information security important, you may ask, right? So information security can help to secure your organization and ensure that your organization meets its mandatory compliance, regulatory, and other legal requirement to protect sensitive data. It helps to build confidence in your organization's ability to conduct its business on a day-to-day basis by being able to provide customer the data without any disruption. It also helps the organization to protect sensitive data that your organization creates, transmits, processes, and also stores in the central system. It also allows you to protect your critical assets, systems, data, and also ensure that the organization is able to deliver on its core functions. It allows you to protect the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of the data to its customers. It also creates what you call a competitive advantage over its competitor. Finally, information security is important as it helps to align your IT and cybersecurity goals with your business goals and objectives. what are the most common security threats out there in the market, right? So the list is quite exhaustive, but I've tried to list some of the notable ones. Malware. What are malware, right? Malware are viruses, worms, trojans, ransomware, and spyware, and it impacts by doing data theft, system corruption, and also financial loss. Phishing and social engineering. How does this work, right? So these are email phishing, wishing, and smishing. And how do they impact? They impact by doing credential theft, financial fraud, and also unauthorized access of data. Ransomware. It encrypts data and demands ransom for decryption. That's the typical modus operandi of a bad actor that's using ransomware, right? So what does this result in? It results in data loss, it results in disruption, and also reputational damage. Insider threats, and this is one of the key threats that are emerging in the current market. So this could be malicious insider, individuals that are employed by the competitor to work in the organization so that they can siphon off data to the competitor. So what impact does it have? Data leaks, business disruption, and also reputational damage. Denial of service attacks, right, or DDoS attacks, as you commonly known. So it overwhelms a target system and makes it unavailable, and it causes downtime, it causes service disruption, and it also causes revenue loss. Because essentially what it does is that it prevents your customers from gaining access to the system, thereby preventing your customers to do whatever transactions that they need to do. Zero-day exploits, it's also quite common nowadays. So how does it work? It attacks vulnerabilities before they are patched, right? So an organization sends out a known bug that it's discovered due to its disclosure policy. However, it's a little bit late in being able to provide a patch to sort of mitigate the vulnerability. So what happens then is that the bad actors tend to exploit those vulnerabilities in that interim period and causing unauthorized access to the data and also data breaches as well. The other aspect is the advanced persistent threats. How does it work? So these are malicious codes that are embedded in the system, and it's a long-term attack, right? So it usually is a communication between the host and the target. So it could be used for espionage, it could be used for data theft, and also critical infrastructure attack. In most cases, the user doesn't even know that they're being attacked because the primary objective of these type of attacks are for espionage. Man-in-the-middle attacks. How does it work? It intercepts communication between two parties, and it results in data theft and credential compromise. Cloud security threats, right? With the growth of cloud security threats is pretty common nowadays. So it is usually due to misconfiguration, insecure APIs that the customer uses by leveraging the microservices that the cloud service provider provides, data breaches, account hijacking because of insecure password. So what does it entail to the organization? Essentially it's unauthorized access, data loss because your APIs are exposed, and etc. Last but not least is the IoT vulnerabilities or the Internet of Things vulnerabilities. And these are due to weak security, unpatched firmware, or even botnets. Typically, it causes network disruption and also device takeover that can be used to weaponize your own hardware against the same organization. I want to touch on the CIA triad, and coming to it, what is the CIA triad? What is the three pillars of security, or more commonly known as the CIA triad? The three pillars of security are confidentiality, integrity, and availability. The CIA triad is the foundation of information security, ensuring that data and system remains protected and usable. These three principles interact with each other to create a balanced and robust security posture. Confidentiality relates to protecting data from unauthorized access by bad actors. Confidentiality ensures that the sensitive information is only accessible to authorized individual or processes that is part of the organization. It prevents unauthorized access, data breaches, and leaks. Common threats to confidentiality: phishing attacks, insider threats, unencrypted data transmission, weak password, data leaks due to misconfiguration. How can we enforce confidentiality? We can do this through encryption, such as AES 256, TLS, access control mechanisms such as role-based access control or RBAC, multi-factor authentication or MFA, or even implementing a zero trust model. Data classification, data loss prevention, and also network segmentation through firewall and also VLAN and also microsegmentation. Integrity is the ability to ensure data accuracy and its trustworthiness of the data that it's providing. Integrity guarantees that the data remains accurate, consistent, and unaltered, except by authorized individual or also processes by the organization. It ensures that the data is not modified maliciously or even accidentally. What are the common threats to integrity? Data tampering, man-in-the-middle attacks. It's typically done through man-in-the-middle attacks. Unauthorized modification of the data. Malware that alters the system files and provides false information. Corruption due to hardware or even software issues. How do we enforce integrity? What are the following techniques that we can use, such as hashing, SHA 256-bit, MD5 checksums to verify the integrity of the data that's being transmitted between the two individuals, digital signatures and PKI, such as private and public key infrastructure, version control, and also ensuring secure backups, audit logs and monitoring for tracking specific changes in the data sets. Finally, availability. Availability ensures that the information and systems are accessible when it's needed, preventing downtime and also disruption. What are the common threats to availability? DDoS attacks, hardware failures that due to disk crashes, power outages, and etc. Ransomware attacks, or even natural disasters. How can we enforce availability? Right? Redundancy and failover solutions, such as RAID from a disk-based perspective, backup servers, cloud replication, disaster recovery side, DDoS mitigation strategies, right? Such as wireless access, wireless application firewall, or traffic filtering, load balancing, and also auto scaling for performance. The three CIA pillars balance each other, but in some cases, one may come at the expense of the other. Let's consider the following, right? Confidentiality versus availability. For example, encrypting sensitive data improves confidentiality, but it also may slow down access, thus impacting the availability of the data. For example, a highly secure VPN connection might cause latency issues. Right? Let's look at integrity versus availability. Implementing strict integrity checks, such as digital signatures, can slow down transmission of the data in real time, thus sort of preventing real-time data processing. For example, a blockchain system ensures integrity, but it requires computational resources, thus reducing or impacting the speed where the data is delivered. How about confidentiality versus integrity? Some encryption methods may prevent detecting unauthorized changes to the data. For example, if a file's been encrypted, integrity checks cannot verify the validity of the document before the data is decrypted. It can only do that once the data has been decrypted. So what I'm trying to say, right, in conclusion, the CIA triad must be balanced based on individual security needs of the organization. Confidentiality protects data, integrity ensures its trustworthiness, and availability ensures that it can be accessed when it's needed. What are the key strategies to protect the data, right? So organizations implement multiple security measures to protect sensitive data. Based on my interaction with IT leaders and security experts, I've listed some key strategies here. Let's take a look in depth on about 5 key data protection strategies, along with some of the real world examples. The first one being the multi-factor authentication, or MFA. See, MFA enhances security by requiring multiple verification steps before granting access to a system. Instead of just using passwords, users must be able to provide additional credentials, such as one-time password, fingerprint, or even a security key. MFA prevents unauthorized access, even if a password is compromised, and it reduces the risk of phishing and brute force attacks. Here are some real-world examples of multi-factor authentication in practice. For example, in banking, online banking apps require the user to provide a password plus an SMS OTP before being able to log in to the system. Cloud services such as Microsoft 365 enforces MFA using a mobile authenticator app before you can gain access to it. Social media, right, such as Facebook, Twitter, they use MFA to prevent account hijacking. Enterprise security, Google's Beyond Corp, for example, which is the framework, that it has a framework that maintains MFA for all its employees. For those that are unaware, Beyond Corp is the enterprise security model that allows Google employees to work securely from any location without a need for any digital VPN. Data encryption, right? Data encryption is a process that converts the data into an unreadable format which can be only accessed with a decryption key. It protects data while it's at rest, while it's in transit, and while it's also being used. Data encryption prevents unauthorized access, even if the data is intercepted by a third party or if it's been stolen. It also ensures compliance with regulations such as GDPR, HIPAA, PCI DSS. Some examples of data encryption includes encryption at rest. Google Cloud and AWS automatically encrypt stored data while using AES 256-bit. Encryption in transit, TLS, or transport layer security, encrypts emails and web traffic when it's being transmitted between individuals or between devices. End-to-end encryption, right? WhatsApp and Signal secure messages so that only the user, or only the sender and the recipient can read them. Database encryption. Healthcare providers encrypt data of patients to ensure that they comply with HIPAA. The third, conducting regular security audit. This is perhaps one of the most overlooked strategy by many organizations based on the conversations I've had with the customers. Security audit's purpose is to evaluate the organization's security posture by identifying vulnerabilities and ensuring compliance with its predefined security policies that have been set up. Regular security audit helps to detect any weaknesses in the IT systems or processes before any attackers can exploit them. They also help organizations to comply with regulatory requirements, right? Some of the examples of security audits includes the following. Penetration testing. Ethical hackers are hired to simulate a cyber attack event to uncover weaknesses in the organization's infrastructure. For example, a financial institution usually conducts an annual penetration testing to identify any security gaps. Compliance audits. Organizations undergo audits to meet industry regulation standards, such as PCI DSS for payment security. An example of this is an e-commerce organization that must regularly comply with PCI DSS to be able to process credit card information. Cloud security assessment. Companies regularly review the cloud configuration to prevent misconfiguration, as in when they start rolling out or when they start consuming new microservices that's been provided by the cloud services provider. For example, a business that's using AWS regularly scans for exposed S3 buckets to prevent data leaks. Employee awareness and training. It involves educating the employees on the cybersecurity best practices to reduce human errors and also prevent social engineering attacks. Human error is one of the leading causes of data breaches, believe it or not. By ensuring that the employees have the right level of awareness, they can act as the first line of defense for the particular organization. Here are some of the examples that I've seen organizations use. Phishing simulation. Organizations send fake phishing emails to test employee awareness. For example, a financial organization regularly conducts a phishing simulation to train employees in spotting fraudulent emails. Security workshops. Employees receive cybersecurity training on password policies, secure browsing, and also social engineering. An example of this, a tech service provider company regularly conducts, or in a quarterly or biannually basis, a security training on best practices on handling sensitive data, because it's their bread and butter. They manage external customers' environment and data, so they have to do this. Strong password policies. Organizations enforce complex password requirements and encourage the use of password managers. For example, large organizations such as Google, Microsoft, and AWS mandate that employees use a strong, unique password that is stored in an enterprise password manager vault. An incident response plan. An incident response plan outlines the steps an organization must take when a security breach occurs. It helps to minimize damage and also allows them to recover quickly. A good incident response plan is critical and is very important, as it reduces the downtime and the financial losses that the organization faces during a cyber attack event. An incident response plan is to ensure that a structured approach is taken when the security admins are identifying, trying to contain the malware, and also resolving any security issues that malware might have caused. So some examples of incident response plans that are implemented in the field includes the following, right? So a ransomware response plan. So a company has a predefined response plan in order to isolate the infected system, restore it from backup, and also reintroduce the system to the production environment. For example, a hospital that's hit by ransomware uses its incident response plan to recover patient records without paying ransom. A DDoS mitigation strategy. An organization implements traffic filtering and load balancing to maintain uptime during an attack. For example, a major e-commerce site uses CloudFast DDoS protection to mitigate attacks. Data breach notification plan. Organizations have protocols for notifying affected users and regulatory body. In modern days, this is a mandatory requirement for any organization that's handling data, specifically data of European countries, right? For example, a data breach occurs, a company has to follow the GDPR requirement to provide a notification back to the customer within 72 hours. In conclusion, each of these data protection strategy plays a crucial role in strengthening an organization's security posture. When combined, they provide a comprehensive defense against cyber threats. Threat and detection, right? So how does it work? What is the role of AI in threat and detection? Just want to check we're correct. Yep. Artificial intelligence and machine learning have revolutionized cybersecurity by enabling real-time detection, predictive analysis, and automated responses. Let's take an in-depth look on the role of AI and how these advanced security strategies deal with real-world application. Threat detection and response, right? These are AI-driven security systems. What is it? An AI-powered security solution continuously analyzes network traffic, user behavior, and system logs to detect anomalies and respond to threats in real time. How does it work? An AI model learns the normal behavior patterns within an organization's network. When an anomaly, for example, unauthorized access or unusual data transfer is detected, the system generates alerts or automatically blocks the activity. AI also helps to reduce false positives by ensuring that the security team focus only on the results or the alerts that are valid, that are considered real threats. A real-world example of this would be Darktrace AI. It uses machine learning to autonomously detect and neutralize cyber threats inside an enterprise network. CrowdStrike Falcon identifies malware and zero-day threats in real time, preventing data breaches. Microsoft Defender for Endpoint uses AI to detect and respond to sophisticated cyber attacks on endpoints. What are the use cases of this, right? AI detects an unusual login attempt for any employee account from a foreign country and automatically blocks access of that user, and then also notifies the security team, telling them, hey, I've seen this user. This user usually logs in from this area, but it's now logging in. He's now logging in from another region. I'm going to lock the account. Can you come and check? Machine learning for predictive threat analysis. Machine learning enhances cybersecurity by identifying threats even before they happen, allowing for proactive defense against attacks from bad actors. How does predictive threat analysis work? Right? Machine learning model analyzes historical data to recognize patterns in cyber attacks. And then the predictive analytics of the component detect potential threats even before they escalate into a full-blown attack. Self-learning algorithm continuously improve detection accuracy. What are the examples? What are the real-world examples, right? So Google Security Operations, formerly known as Chronicle, it uses machine learning to analyze vast amount of data security and also prevent data or cyber threats. IBM Watson for cybersecurity. It processes millions of security documents to provide AI-driven threat intelligence. FireEye Helix predicts and prevents cyber attacks by analyzing the attacker's behavior. What's the use case, right? Machine language can model and detect an employee downloading a large volume of sensitive files. Now it triggers an alert. It realizes that this is a potential case of data exfiltration activity by an insider. And then it locks the data, it locks the access to the user, and then it provides the notifications to security admin so that they can come in and check. So all this is done before the actual breach even occurs. So, short for security orchestration, automation, and response. The SAW platform integrates security tools, it automates responses, and streamline workflows to accelerate threat mitigation. How does it work? Let's look at the components individually, right? So security orchestration. It combines multiple security tools, SIEM, EDR, firewalls, for a unified response. The automation aspect of it reduces manual intervention by automating incident response tasks. Examples of this could be blocking malicious IP addresses or even isolating a device that's been identified as compromised. Response coordination. It enables security team to collaborate effectively on security incidents. For example, let's take a look at Splunk SAW. It automates incident response workflow and integrates it with the existing security tool that the organization would use. Palo Alto Cortex XSOAR, right, uses AI to automatically analyze and respond to threats. IBM Resilient SAW reduces threat response time by automating remediation actions. This was a real world example for one of my customers that I've worked with in the past, right? So a phishing email was detected during a long weekend before when everybody was away. The SAW system automatically detected that. It automatically blocked the sender, revoked the user access, and it alerted the security team, all the while without any human intervention. AI-powered behavioral analysis. It's primarily used to for insider threat detection. Excuse me, just go ahead and drink water. It's an AI-driven behavioral analytics tool that is used to monitor user activity, access pattern, and device interaction to identify insider threats. How does it work? The tool is deployed in an organization, and it essentially goes through what we call a baselining period. During this phase, the tool just sits there and it learns the employee behavior, i.e. login times, location, where they're logging in from, what are the file access patterns that they have, which includes modification, deletion, and also the update rates of that particular employee. Now it goes through that baseline phase. Once the baseline phase is completed, it sits there silently, right? It monitors for any activity that is deemed abnormal. If an abnormal activity is detected, such as logging in from an unrecognized device, accessing sensitive data outside of normal business hours, or abnormal change rate of files, the AI flags the incident for investigation. Right? Behavior analytics help to detect compromised account, data theft, and insider sabotage. Some examples could include Exabeam user and identity behavior analytics, right? Varonis AI, it monitors file activity and detects suspicious access to sensitive information. Microsoft Sentinel. And typical use cases, if an employee suddenly accesses a sensitive financial record in the middle of the night, it triggers an alert. System locks the account and notifies the security team to investigate the user for a potential insider threat. Artificial intelligence and machine languages are transforming cybersecurity by enabling real-time threat detection, proactive defense, and automated incident response. By integrating AI-driven security tools, organizations can detect and mitigate cyber risks faster and with greater accuracy. That's the entire summary and the importance why AI is important. Now, what happens when information security is neglected? Like, let's look at some of the real-world examples and notable incidents that has happened in 2024. The Change Healthcare ransomware attack. In February 2024, Change Healthcare, a subsidiary of United Health Group, suffered significant ransomware attack that was executed by a group called Black Cat. The breach compromised personal data over 190 million users, including health insurance detail, billing records, and all that, right? The attackers were able to access the stolen credentials using a Citrix remote server that did not have any multi-factor authentication configured. Despite them paying 22 million ransom, the company faced data leakages and threats from the bad actors. The Snowflake ransomware attack. In May 2024, a cloud computing company, Snowflake, experienced ransomware attack that's affected several of its customers, right? Such as AT&T and also Ticketmaster. The breach was attributed to a weak password protection that allowed the attackers to infiltrate and encrypt the customer data. And to make it worse, it was not even a result of a sophisticated attack. The bad actors just found the data, it was exposed, and they just used it to gain access to the system. The Volt Typhoon infiltration of the US critical infrastructure, right? The Volt Typhoon, as the Chinese state-sponsored hacking group, were implicated trying to infiltrate US critical infrastructure. Their activities are believed to be aimed at positioning themselves to disrupt military and civil operation in case of a conflict with Taiwan. Ivanti zero-day vulnerability exploitation. In late 2024, threat actors exploited a zero-day vulnerability in Ivanti's product, including the Connect Secure VPN. This allowed the bad actors to gain access, execute remote code execution, obtain credentials, and implant web shells to the victim's network. The Ascension ransomware attack. Ascension Health, one of the largest private healthcare systems in the United States, experienced a ransomware attack that compromised almost 5.6 million patients' data. It happened because an employee downloaded a malicious file onto the company's device, which essentially possibly says that it was an honest mistake because the employee thought that they were downloading legitimate files. Last but not least is the MediSecure data breach. MediSecure data breach is a company in Australia that specializes in electronic prescription services. It suffered a data breach due to a ransomware attack. The data, once it was stolen, was offered for sale on a Russian hacking forum for about $50,000. These incidents highlight the evolving landscape of cybersecurity threats, emphasizing the need for organizations to implement a comprehensive security measure, including regular system updates, employee training, and robust incident response plan. Now, to summarize and to conclude, what are the actions that the organizations can take, right? So what I'm trying to say is cybersecurity is critical, right? The cyber threats are constantly changing, with attackers developing new techniques to bypass security defenses. Security measures that worked yesterday might not be effective tomorrow. Right? Organizations must treat cybersecurity as an ongoing process rather as a one-time implementation. What are the three key aspects of modern cybersecurity landscape? Threat intelligence, continuous monitoring, and adaptive security model. Why is it important for organizations to implement a layered security measure, right? So no single security solution is going to be able to protect against all cybersecurity threats. A layered cybersecurity model that uses a defense in-depth design ensures that multiple lines of defense are available, and it makes it more difficult for a bad actor to be able to breach your organization. These include perimeter security, endpoint security, access control, data protection, and finally, the most important, user awareness. Regular updates and patch management, to prevent exploitation of vulnerabilities such as zero-day vulnerabilities. Why is it important, right? So automated patch deployment that allows you to use centralized management tools, zero-day vulnerability monitoring through proactive defense tools, and also network segmentation. It prevents lateral movement and weaponization of your own devices should there be a breach into your system. Don't take the growth of and the impact of AI and automation lightly, right? They are transforming the future of cybersecurity. The increasing complexity and the volume of cyber threats organizations face, you can't have individuals responding to it. You need machine learning, you need AI to be able to respond to those threats dynamically and in an automated manner. What are the key applications for AI in cybersecurity? Threat detection and response, behavioral analysis, and also the SOAR platforms. As a final thought, it's important that organizations take a proactive security approach when they seek to protect data, which is your crown jewel in the digital age. Any organization that takes a reactive approach for cybersecurity by only responding after an attack is done, it leaves the organization completely vulnerable. A proactive strategy involves continuous risk assessment in the security technology, thereby forecasting when an attack is going to occur. The core elements of a proactive approach is threat intelligence and risk assessment, incident response plan, cybersecurity training for your employees, and also resilience and recovery by having a proper response and recovery plan should you be faced with an attack. And with that, we come to the end of the presentation. Shilpa, back to you.
Thank you so much, Sentil, for delivering such an informative session, and our attendees share the same sentiments. If you are interested to learn more about our program, do let us know in the poll that's going to be conducted now. If you would like to learn more, please select yes, and we will schedule a call to provide you with more information. An important note, admissions are presently open. For comprehensive details regarding our courses, kindly visit our website www.eccu.edu. So, Sentil, shall we start with the Q&A?
Sure. I'll try to answer them to the best of my abilities.
Yeah, sure. Okay, first of all, I just wanted to let you know, like, we have got very good feedbacks about your explanation, like your teaching. It's awesome and inspiring, the way you are teaching. So our audience have liked it.
Thank you.
Yeah. So our first question to you is, how regularly would you recommend an organization to conduct regular security audits?
All right. So it'll be a balance between the industry that they're in versus how impactful it is for the operation team, right? Uh, uh, a financial organization, I've seen them do it quarterly. A critical government organization also quarterly, but a reasonable and I think one that's very practical would be a biannual audit. So you do it every 6 months. So you could do the one that you do in the middle of the year, could be a quick short audit, or and then towards the end of the year where there's less users and etc., you could do a full system audit, right? So allows the administrators to get more time to fix any issues that they identify, because usually the organization goes through a change freeze as well.
Thank you, Senthil, for answering that question. Our next question to you is, what are your thoughts on the AI used with business data to build new models?
So when you say new models, what are you trying to say? Are you saying that the organization is using AI for to build new security model, or they're using AI to develop application? So if it's to develop application, right? So usually these guys have the sort of like a secure process model where when they build a software, it's secured in terms of how the operation's done to prevent any zero-day attack or backdoor access to the system. But if it's more focusing on artificial intelligence, um, that's the way the organizations are going. If you look at it in terms of how AI is deployed, so AI is used to understand them deploy the new app. It allows them to proactively scan the application for any known vulnerabilities against the code, or also to prevent any zero-day attacks as well. I
Thank
hope
you,
I
Senthil,
answered.
for answering. Yeah, thank you for answering. Our next question to you is, want to know if zero trust can work well with AI systems?
Yes. So the ones that I've seen where it's implemented properly, yes, zero trust can work with the AI system. Zero trust pretty much assumes that everything and every users just get the right amount of access for the right amount of work that they need to do. Sort of like a just in time privileges. So that's what zero trust is. So by incorporating that, and also with AI such as SAW, so you could automatically detect any abnormal usage or access to the data. So it has its own workflow. So as it detects unusual access that's away from the baseline, that's not right for the particular user, automatically locks the user out and then uses the workflow to secure the data as well. I've seen a system where it's able to detect unauthorized access, automatically has a workflow that goes to the backup, creates a point-in-time snapshot of the data, and then vaults the backup, and then informs the security team that there's a potential data breach or there's a potential corruption to the data. All this process, the entirety of it, end to end, is automated through the workflow.
Thank you for answering that question. Our next question to you is, how does cybersecurity in the digital age related to law enforcement?
The law enforcement is actually quite, you'd be surprised. some of the customers I work with are the highly regulated ones. They are actually employing and they're working very closely with vendors to employ AI and align that with the new processes, right? So, for example, Australian regulatory systems have introduced a lot of new regulations in terms of how the data should be handled and managed. That gets enforced to the organizations as well. And a lot of these critical organizations work very closely with vendors to ensure that they comply, so that, you know, if there is a breach, if there is a data compromise, they are not impacted as well from a data and legal perspective. Plus, also, they use that laws that they have to be able to go to the full extent in order to go and take action against those bad actors that try to compromise the environment.
Thank you for answering that question. Our next question to you is, what tools would you recommend for automated threat detections?
So if you look, I could share the slide, or you could have a look at the webinar recording. I've actually shared some of the tools that you could use, some of the names that's there. You could actually use those tools. So it's actually there in the slide, so we can refer it back and then you can have a look at it. There are a lot. Usually depends on your budget, what you want to use, but definitely somewhere to start with.
Thank you for answering. Our next question to you is, how does AI affect the world of law enforcement?
How does AI affect the world of law enforcement? So let's talk in the context of cybersecurity, right? So AI is where the cybersecurity tools are moving towards with, primarily because the volume of attacks and the amount of attacks that they see. So when you're saying how does it impact the law, I guess the law against cybersecurity attacks is kind of the same, but how quickly these individuals are detected, or how quickly the organization can respond to the threat, and that's based on AI. So the usage of AI is going to help the organizations to either prevent the attack or to be able to have ability to respond to the attack in a much quicker manner, thereby you know, in the past, you've got to get a forensic analysis, you got to get the legal people to come in, you got to get the investigators to come in and have a look. Nowadays, the burden on the law officers and the people that are enforcing the law is getting lower, because AI is trying to do most of the policing, most of the monitoring of the data, versus where in the past it was most of it is all more manual, right? So you need to investigate, find out what happened and all that stuff. But now with threat detection, vulnerability, zero-day exploits and stuff, AI is able to provide what has happened or even prevent that. So it's going to reduce the burden on the law enforcement agency. That's my opinion.
Thank you, Sentil. Our next question to you is, beyond ransomware, what other significant threats are businesses underestimating right now?
Right. So there's an interesting study that's been done by global cybersecurity providers. Apart from ransomware, the emerging threat at the moment is insider threat and also espionage. So data exfiltration. That's one of the emerging trend across the board as of 2024, post-COVID. So prior to COVID was ransomware, data encryption. But nowadays, what we're seeing is there's a lot of remote access or corporate espionage and data exfiltration, primarily because of work from home. So a lot of times, organizations go through a rapid hiring process. They hire individuals. Individuals don't even know who's the actual employee, because most of them work from home sometimes, and then when they're in the office, they're really not sure whether the employee is a legitimate employee or not, or even employees that are working for a competitor gets hired to another user, and insider threat is now on the rise. Apart from ransomware, this is the next phase where there's a growing trend in terms of insider threat, and that's how AI comes into the play, right? All these baselining tools is able to detect a particular user from a particular location. If there is a privilege access modification or a lateral attack of a user, somebody gains access of a user account and then tries to access the data in another location, AI is able to detect that quickly and also inform the security team of an abnormal behavior.
Thank you, Sentil, for answering that question. We'll take last two questions for the day. Our next question to you is how to regulate monitoring for attackers and how to support a regular lifeline in zero support.
Sorry, I don't understand the question. Maybe can you repeat that, please? Maybe.
Sure. How to regulate monitoring for attackers and how it supports regular lifeline in zero support.
So regulate monitoring, I think SAW would work because it has workflows, automated threat detection. So if there's an attack that's happening, it's able to see it live. It's able to take action on it live versus reactive. I guess we're trying to say that, well, if you don't have a support team that's looking at the issue, the SAW would work well. A SAW and the SIEM would work very well because it's able to have a lot of automated workflow, right? So we had a customer, as I was sharing, and I hope I'm answering the question correctly, where there's also a rise of attacks, especially in Europe, US, and in the Asia Pacific region, specifically Australia and all that, during long weekends, because people take holidays on that long weekend, and there's very less people in the organization. So at this point, in those days, in those period, a SAW tool with an automated response workflow is going to work best because support teams down to its skeleton crew. If an attack happens, it's able to detect that attack live. It's able to take the precautionary steps and then inform the relevant team that this has happened so that they can then take proactive action or reactive action to the threat.
Thank you, Sentil, for answering that question. Taking last question for the day. What is the best AI tool you would recommend for monitoring the security posture of a bank?
I think we've got that in the slide as well. I'm not fully, so it'll depend on how much the banks are willing to spend. But I've actually listed that in one of the use cases. So we could go back to the slide and have a look as well if you want to.
So thank you, Sentil, for answering those questions and for the great presentation and knowledge shared with our global audiences. Also, we have received one more feedback, like the audience is thanking you for your superb explanation. So they are very happy with your explanation. Thank you again for that. And it was a pleasure to have you with us, and we are looking for more and more sessions with you. Before we conclude the webinar, Sentil, would you like to give a small message to our audience?
Sure. So thank you guys for today. It was a good sharing session. I guess the key takeaway, right? If you guys would, is don't overlook AI and its importance in cybersecurity. Personally, I believe that's where the direction is going to go. AI and machine language is going to be very, very important in terms of from a security perspective, and it's not going to impact the security admins negatively. It's going to be more positive because then you'll have more control of what you want the system to do. So I think don't take AI and machine learning lightly. It's really going to be the next big thing for security. And I thank you, EC Council, for the opportunity to share this as well.
Thank you so much, Sentil, for appreciating and for the message to our audience.